Every year, someone goes viral, and a year later, nobody talks about them. Ever wonder why that happens? We've all seen it. An artist gets one hit, then disappears. But it's deeper than just bad luck. Let's break down why some artists fall off right after blowing up. I want to make this very, very clear. This is not hate. I am not hating on any specific artist. I am just talking about the natural progression and degression of an artist. Sometimes things just happen, and there's nothing wrong with that. Reason number one is the hit was bigger than the artist. And we hear this all the time, where a viral song isn't equal to an actual fan base. People fell in love with the moment or the sound and not the artist themselves. I was gonna use specific artists for an example, but I think really we could just talk about any artist between the time period of 2020 almost up until now when it comes to post-pandemic and the TikTok era of music, where a lot of artists were blowing up, a lot of artists were growing, and I don't think that that was a bad thing. You know, a lot of people who didn't get coverage, a lot of people who didn't get discovered, got discovered because of blowing up on TikTok and even through blowing up on Reels or YouTube Shorts and things of that nature. But a lot of these artists, when they blew up so quickly and so much, they didn't really know what to do with that fame. And not just that, but they didn't have any music in the back burner. They didn't have any hits to back up the hit that blew them up. And I think this is a really big issue when artists have hit songs like that, because very, very rarely do you get like a Juice WRLD or even a modern day artist like Lil Tecca, where they have a hit and that hit is really good, and then over the next few years, they're able to back that hit up with other good music. Tecca is a great example because he had a hit, Ransom, and a lot of people said, oh, he's just a kid, he might not be able to, follow through with continuing his growth. And Tecca is one of the biggest mainstream artists right now. He's been able to back up hit after hit after hit every year. So it's cool for him, but very rarely do we get artists like that. Reason number two is no brand or identity. If people don't know who you are or what you stand for, they won't stick around. No visuals, no message, no consistent energy. I think a big example of this is many artists today who don't post or build any image behind the hit. This is a really big deal. And again, this has a lot to do with preparation for having a hit song. And here's the thing, right? You can't really prepare for having a hit song. Sometimes things just happen. And you can't really prepare for the fact that your song is doing so well and now you're having all of these eyes on you. I don't blame artists who don't really know what they're doing once they get the hit song. But I think if you're in the development phase or you're like slowly growing or steadily growing in a fan base, you should be working on these little things. Prepare as best as you can. For myself, making videos like this really helps me get honest and truthful in my opinion and not care to stand on it. And I also make a song almost every day because even if not every song is going to be amazing, at least I'm consistently working. So if there's a time period or when there's a time period where I need to pump out a lot of music, I can do that. And if a song blows up, I also have songs to hold me back. Reason number three is no growth or evolution. They try to repeat the same hit formula. The audience moves on, but the artist doesn't. I think a big example of this is the SoundCloud era artists who didn't evolve with the time. When I say SoundCloud era, I really am speaking about the time between, I would say 2015, 2016, and I'm gonna round up to about 2021 because a lot of those artists, especially from the 2021 era of SoundCloud rappers, and they know who they are. Not that they ever made bad music, and I still think to this day, the ones who are still putting out music, the music has never been bad. The issue is that when you're trying to pump out the same thing over and over and over again, even when you try to switch it up, people kind of feel that energy of like, you don't really know what direction you're going into. It's what makes people kind of stand back and say, yeah, I'm not really trying to support this. Reason number four is a bad team or no strategy. No rollout plan, no music videos, no content, no support. Even a hit can go nowhere if you don't know what to do after. There's a difference between artists who had a hit and followed up versus those who didn't. I think, again, I'm going to use the example Tecca, and I love Fago's music. I love Fago's as an artist, and I am not hating on Fago. I really would like to work with Fago one day. So if Fago ever sees this, I have no hate towards you, but here's what I'm gonna make the comparison here because it's just rightful so with the conversation. Tecca is an artist who had a hit, followed it up and followed it up and followed it up, and he was able to keep the fan base breathing. Where Fago had the hit, Knock Knock, and then kept fans waiting, and Fago makes amazing music. I personally think out of every artist from this generation, Fago doesn't miss. Even Pink Hearts, which a lot of people didn't like, I thought was a great album, and Fago never missed. But when you keep your fans waiting like that, even if you do have great music, it makes fans stand back and say, hey, am I going to keep supporting or am I just going to move on to the next artist? Fago's doing great right now though, so all respect to Fago. Reason number five is mental pressure or burnout. Sometimes artists get fame too fast and they weren't ready. Hate, pressure, label drama, or fear of not topping the hit is what happens to a lot of these artists, where they get the hit and then they're going through the natural feelings that a human's gonna go through if they get all this attention at once that they didn't expect. They're gonna start overthinking. They might not put out the right song because they don't know what their fans want, because a lot of the times when you have a hit, you don't really have huge fans. You just have people who are all a fan of one sound or one song. One wrong move and people aren't following your next thing. I've never been in that position, but I can understand why it could be scary and why some artists just don't know what to do after. It's something that most people just don't talk about. So in conclusion, it's not just about talent. It's about being ready, strategic, and building something real. Having a hit isn't the goal. Building a career should be. And a lot of artists don't have that on the main focus. It's a lot of the times these artists, their main focus is getting a lot of attention in the moment, or running up the bag, or just making their money. But it's like, I think, to me personally, the biggest focus should be building your career, building your catalog, building your fan base, and screw the hits, because you can have a hit and then be forgotten tomorrow, or you can have consistently great songs be all pushed to a fan base, and you could do really well with that. Everybody's got a different opinion on things like this though. Let me know in the comments which artists you think fell off too early and who proved they're more than a one-hit wonder, because there's definitely some artists like that, and there's some artists that we even talked about today. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. I got more content, more videos coming on the way, videos every week. If you want to follow me or any of my own music, you could do that. Follow me on Instagram, willarmani with 2 I's. It's been your boy willarmani. Please stay positive.